What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a good Thursday. Sheet should be joining us in just a minute. We have sort of a quiet NBA. Look, there he is. There's the main power. Straight off the LOLs podcast.
Yeah,
the LOLs podcast or whatever.
That was fun.
That was awesome. Any of you guys who haven't checked that out, I suggest you guys do check it out. It's pretty, really entertaining, really interesting, and definitely different than what you're going to hear at most of the podcasts.
We had a couple of our dudes in there, by the way, like chatting. And
saying, nice.
Yeah, they were supporting. They were saying, "Yeah, dude, these are the only guys that know what they're doing." It was fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it was really cool. I thought you did a great job, man. And now we have a nice little relaxing 2-gamer with a 1-gamer. I mean, I don't even know what to do with myself. It's so little to think about.
I literally just I have to do the hockey stuff, but I just updated the projections for the NBA. I was literally just about to look at them. Is there anything that what am I looking at here? What's good?
You're not looking. It's basically the same. So it's. I mean,
Chris. You're saying the same. I literally haven't looked at anything.
So Chris Paul without Steph Curry is gonna, and Saric without Draymond are gonna be the obvious two guys who most people plug in and are gonna be 70+% owned probably.
Yeah, I'm looking. I see 78% owned Chris Paul. That's right. It's 2 games. That's right. I forgot. Okay, that's right.
Yeah. So. You have that, and you could also play Looney as a pivot off of, or in addition to Saric, depending on the starting lineup. But at the same time, we won't know that starting lineup until probably well after it matters. Like before the 7:00 game, 10:00 Eastern game. So it looks like a very middling buildish type of day. Obviously, there's not really a ton to spend up on except for Shea, and that's actually going to be owned as well. So the idea of trying to get different on these slates is pretty simple for me. Like, I'm willing to take giant gambles, and if they pay off, great. If they don't, one of the guys I'll be taking that shot with tonight is a guy, Dennis Smith Jr. I'm going to play a good percentage of him because I still think Brooklyn doesn't know what they're doing without really a true lead guard. And if anything happens with Dinwiddie, if they're struggling, which I expect, because the first teams really struggle with Miami's point guard and defense, which we know forever. I think it could be that weird Dennis Smith Jr. game where at no ownership on a 2-game slate, maybe this is the spot where you want to take that shot. So that's one differentiator. You can jump in with whatever and talk about whatever, but I'm just going to throw my differentiators.
Yeah, I'm literally catching up with the NBA. So I'm like running my first SaberSim build like now, just to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
One thing I can do is you can leave money on the table. I mean, it's 2-game slate, right? So there's stuff you could try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Is Kuminga a good play?
So the whole Golden State situation, the Saric is going to be the chalky one, but then Kuminga is not going to be not chalky. He's going to be 20% owned.
Well, I had him under 20. That's all I'm looking at is people under 20 right now.
Yeah. But then this Brandon Podzinski.
Oh, the hero from the other night, right?
He can really play, and they love him. And Kerr has made it clear that regardless of who's playing for them, he's going to play every night. Which, again, the ownership is going to be one of those that you're going to say, hey, why is the ownership so much better than the projections are? He's going to be that guy, but the ownership is going to be high. So I would say Moses Moody, because of that ownership, becomes another guy for me. I think Wiggins is going to be lower owned than he probably should be, although he's been horrible. I think we should embrace that, the upside of it. Lou Dort is an interesting one. Always plays really well against Golden State for some reason. They tend to leave him open a lot for whatever reason. He's 5,500. He's a good differentiator play. I think people will go with Jaquez, and I think that I like Jaquez better than Highsmith, but I would rather play Highsmith at 1/6 the ownership. So those are some just basic differentiators to get off what is going to be very obvious chalk. This is not a tough cash game build. It's a very straightforward slate as far as I'm concerned.
Well, when I make a couple of adjustments for like nonsense, I just want to see if there's any of these guys that I'm getting to are going to be sort of lower. So there's the Kuminga, and then what else? Gary Payton.
He's another one for Golden State that could come through. But just remember, there's a lot of guys that fit that mold. So,
now, Yeah. Now tell me again what you were just saying about Haywood Highsmith.
So Haywood Highsmith has been playing the minutes, more minutes than Jaquez. He is not a great fantasy point per minute player historically, but he actually has been. He's had some, ceiling type of games. He's projected to play 28 minutes tonight. He's 4,600. You have Jaquez, who's 4,500, projected to play 24 minutes. And just the fact that Jaquez is going to end up being like 25% owned or 20% owned, and I think Highsmith's going to be like 3% owned or 4% owned. This thing is that's a worthy gamble to make. You know what I mean?
And we're going to get back to Highsmith in a second. I'm going to put this quiz out there to people that are in this chat. We get 25 people in there. If anybody could tell me why I'm just sort of forced to play a little Haywood Highsmith, I'll give you something. I don't know what it is.
Well, I'm not telling you to play. I'm saying he's I was talking about my differentiators, the guys who are not going to.
No. This has nothing to do with you. But for those of you that have been watching any of my content in the last couple of days or whatever, someone wants to tell me why I am forced to play a little bit of Haywood Highsmith. And if you get that right, you get a free T-shirt that doesn't exist. How about that? The other low owned guy that I'm seeing here in these builds is Caleb Martin.
I think that's the probably the most interesting one. Off of an injury, then started the season, then got injured again. Hasn't played. The problem I have is the ceiling of minutes.
Sure. I mean,
but I don't think that's like I think that Highsmith or Jaquez could play 30 plus minutes. I don't think a way in the world Caleb Martin plays more than 20.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just guessing though, because they haven't announced an official minutes restriction that I've seen. I think it was 24 when there was a speculation I saw of 24. It doesn't seem right to have a guy. I mean, this guy, remember, almost won the MVP of the conference finals last year. And it doesn't seem right that they would just sort of throw him in and okay, we'll see what happens. We're going to let you play 35 minutes or something like that. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Other guys that are in my low owned, that are in my builds that I have low owned is the aforementioned Dennis Smith Jr. I'm getting to some of that. He's
the low owned one that I think I can create a narrative that makes the most sense for me with him.
And I got two more. One is Dennis Jr. I said Lou Dort. You talked about him a little bit.
He was one of mine. Yeah, absolutely.
And then this one Kevin Love.
So the Kevin Love one is the other one I was gonna think about a little bit. The minutes just aren't there. He hasn't been particularly good when he's played, and we don't have overwhelming stuff out for Miami other than the obvious, Tyler Hero, that makes it where we need to. I don't know. I think it's totally fine as a long shot play. It's basically he and Caleb Barton. I will probably have in my large field small buy-in stuff. I probably won't end up with either of those in my big buy-ins. I would rather play the guys with the minutes upside, even though Kevin Love may do that 35 points in 20 minutes or 18 minutes kind of a night, and it might kill me. I'm going to take a chance on the guys who are going to play more minutes than me.
Whole bunch of Warriors. That makes sense, obviously. Let's see.
Oh, look! Apparently, your buddy, the DFS PhD, liked the Highsmith idea as well.
Winner, chicken dinner. So it's not even because he loves him. It's because this guy, this DFS PhD, is so proud. He won a trip to the World Championship Finals or whatever it is because of a Haywood Highsmith lineup, and he keeps a Haywood Highsmith jersey up over his left shoulder, which he referred to. So the first.
Did you win the live final?
Or something, not the live final, like the World Championship or something.
Yeah.
Something cool. That he's going to at the end of the year. Yeah, so he's so whoever this guy, whenever we get our first T-shirt, Neil gets one. So there you go.
Yeah, and actually I have that on the list of things to get some of.
Nice. As
I plan on making. I haven't tried to make a live final in a while. I think that in 24 I'm going to try to do a couple of them.
Nice.
Just and I agree. I like the Jaquez love from oh my God, Godfather. I love this guy so much as a player. He was a UCLA guy, so obviously I love him. The weird part is he's being projected to play 24 minutes. And I know there's different players that are, Caleb Martin's coming back. He's played 38, 32, and 32 minutes the last 3 games, and he's been good. It's not necessarily guaranteed that he loses minutes. The most likely is that Highsmith would, but Highsmith is also like they've played better, and he's played 33, 26, and 32. They've done better as they put him in the starting lineup in their current situation, which is messy. So I have my core plays, and they haven't changed since the beginning of the day. I'm going to say them because I think they might change a little bit, but as of right now, I know you don't love the core play things. I was listening to all that, but I do think it's important for people like the logical guys are like. So I like either play one of Bam or Jimmy, but I like both of them. I think you can play them together. That's fine. I like Chris Paul, Podzinski, and Saric. Those are the chalky guys that I'm eating a lot of the chalk. But you use a couple of these differentiators, and that's all you need on these two gamers. And if you can come up with the two sub 10 percenters in the one lineup, or a 10 percenter and an 8 percenter, and you get the right pieces of chalk, you can win a tournament on these little slates, and that's what I'm looking at tonight.
I'm down with this Dennis Smith Jr. thing.
It's a really good idea, right?
Yeah, it's like a terrible idea. That's a great idea. Like this is like a perfect idea. I love it.
First of all, I've mentioned him twice this year. The last time I mentioned him was when he put up 30 against.
Well, he should be 50% owned then, because one time he was good, one time is no good, so 50%.
No, one time he was good. He hasn't been good yet.
I'm getting for 9. I love it.
Now we're talking about a lock button.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really good play. That look. For those of you guys who don't watch this every day and everything, a lot of the plays that I mentioned when I say the getting different, especially on these two gamers, I'm not saying I expect Dennis Smith Jr. to put up 40 fantasy points or 35 fantasy points. I'm saying that you want a guy who's sub 5% who could do that and has a narrative where he can do that, where you're missing your basically your two ball handlers, and he's the only other guy other than Dinwiddie who really has ever had that role. Lonnie Walker, I guess you could argue for him. If he was out, that would be Dennis Smith Jr. Lock City time. But I really like the play. I also think Lonnie Walker at really low ownership. I just think there's a chance that one of these backup guards gets there for Brooklyn and no one will play them.
Lonnie season, huh?
I mean, he's not my favorite. He's just another differentiator. Not my favorite one. I initially loved Chet Holmgren today. Now the field finally caught up with what the ownership should have been on him. That's a little bit frustrating because he was one of my original differentiators, which is what that's the name of the game on these little slates.
Absolutely.
Find a couple,
And even still, NBA is it is compared to a lot of other sports, it is a chalk sport, so can't get too carried away.
Right, exactly. You can't get too carried away, but like on the slates like last night, you can get that carried away. You know what I mean? You can play like 5 guys at sub 5%, even though you probably shouldn't, but occasionally you can because there's just so many plays that stand out as this and this and this. A 2-gamer, you kind of know what everyone's doing, and it makes a lot of sense what everyone's doing. You just got to find those couple of little outliers.
Yeah.
And I specifically like the idea of like with the Highsmith or Hawkes, I wouldn't play both of them. But if you play one of those guys with a Kuminga or at the same price, or with let me grab who I have my actual builds. You play those guys, with a combination of like, I don't know, all the similar price guys, Wiggins, Royce O'Neal, and you mash those guys in so you can spend up a little bit. I actually think the projection is completely ridiculous on Shea tonight. I think that if there's something I could talk myself into, I could talk myself into like playing 100% Shea, even though I have none of him right now. I mean, I'm just telling you, this guy, he's 10-6 in what should be competitive in Golden State. They play at their pace. They play fast. They keep blowing teams out. And Shea still, like last game, he put up 56 points. They won by 40 or 36. He didn't play the fourth quarter, and he only played 28 minutes. He put up 56 fantasy points. I don't know why we wouldn't try to play him. The only thing is that I also think that Butler and Bam, given the situation, are terrific plays, and we don't have the value to really play all of them. Bam, I mean, if you want to look at Bam's game log, you'd wonder why is he 9,200. He should be like higher than he's outscored Shea. He's outscored everybody on this slate. His last 5 games are 71, 52, 61, 54, 49.75. And I would rate Brooklyn, even with Claxton in there, as a plus matchup. So just kind of interesting.
Let's see something. 7, 8. Ooh, that's interesting. For everybody that was paying attention, Timo Meyer is out for the Devils. Just making sure you get that.
Oh, we got Thanksgiving coming up, by the way. Just like feels like it's really early this year.
Yeah, it just feels that way.
It does. I mean, it is the earliest date it could be, but still, it's weird. I only know that because my birthday is on the 29th, and I know it can't be on my birthday.
All right, so I'm just basically just redoing these hockeys. Then we'll then I'm gonna
Yeah, we can transition to NFL whenever.
yeah. Let's this.
To answer Clay's question about Kason Wallace, I'm not getting there, but I definitely don't mind it. It's a perfect, and especially from Clay, I like that from you, like getting a little bit creative with it. I think that's it's not something I'm doing, but I like the creativity, and I think that there's merit if you have a chalky build the rest of the way to maybe get to that.
Kason Wallace, who is that? Is that hockey or basketball? Is that football? Kason Wallace is basketball, right?
He's basketball.
Okay. What team?
He looks like he's a football player. He's another one of the great 100 players that OKC seems to draft every year.
Oh, he's on OKC. Okay.
Yeah. They built up such a good, like so many draft picks and so many good players that they have. They can literally just trade out the good players they don't have use for. Like there's 3 of them they could probably get, late first, early second round picks for. They're just like going to be good for a very, very long time. Like it's impossible for them not to be good, basically. Even if they lose their best player in Shea, they're still a playoff team in the future. It's crazy. This is not the year for the Thunder, but it's going to be very, very soon.
Can it? I mean,
they're really good. I mean, I think Chet is going to be a top 20 player, top 25 player in the NBA.
They're going to be able to keep these guys, huh?
Well, you have a rookie contracts.
Oh, right.
It's like the same thing with the quarterback in the NFL. You get 5 years out of these guys. So, and then also you have 1 million draft picks in the future. So you have a lot of like swappability, even if you end up trading for other things. You just have a lot you can do.
Yeah.
Like that's not to mention Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams are both guys who were probably all-star level players that are playing third and fourth fiddle. and you could easily swap one of those guys out for one of the best big men to go alongside Chet in the league. Like you
right.
can do things.
Okay, so let me just see. Yeah, hockey again. That's the only thing I would add to my other hockey video from earlier is that Timo Meyer is out and Jack Hughes is out. So obviously those Devils are not going to look so good.
Yeah.
So the NFL. Let's make sure I get this hockey in here first, and then it's maybe we can just make sure I have this done, then we can transition right over. Let's see. This is the sport, basketball, football.
And yeah, I just answered the question in chat. I'm just going to say like Kenrich Williams, like I'm not going to say no to any of these guys. It's just they're low likelihood guys. And I would rather, some real speculation. The Kevin Love thing is something that could happen. The Caleb Martin, although I'm just worried about the minutes, but I really like the idea of one of Highsmith or Hawkes, even with Caleb Martin coming back as a differentiator. I really like Lou Dort as a differentiator, and I really like Moses Moody as a differentiator. Don't be surprised, by the way, if Moses Moody ends up starting for the Warriors tonight.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, it's interesting because we're speculating that Sarge will start. My guess is there's no way they're playing two bigs against a team that you don't need to play two bigs against, and they'll just bring Sarge off the bench as usual. And maybe they start Podzinski, which would make some sense, or maybe they start Moses Moody or Gary Payton II. All of those guys could end up starting, which is why I think if you're looking at that like ultimate value side of things, probably doing it from the Warriors, like or Kuminga even. All of the Warriors backups projected right now by every site are, in my opinion, just as likely to end up starting as Sarge. Even if Sarge gets more minutes, at least it gives them a chance to get out there and, you have a good plus minus. So that means you're playing a lot more the rest of the day in the first year with your first rotation.
Right.
I'm okay with Claxton and Chet double center, a Godfather and a single entry. I think that's totally logical. What else do we have here? I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. So we got Neil is the one who wins the. He nailed it.
Yes. Once we get one.
Once we got it, it goes to Neil first. Sheets and I will get it second. Third.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly. One more guy to put in here.
Sarge may start. Look, he likely will. Either way, those guys are still in play, and there's no need they have to specifically start Sarge in this matchup. Like I'm just saying, they just don't. No, I love Sarge as a play. I want to make this very clear, Godfather. I'm playing Sarge in most of my lineups. The point is whether he starts or not. First of all, if he didn't start, and we knew that before the original lock, I would love him. But if he does start, he's a great play either way. But either way, these guys on the bench all are going to have an opportunity. And there's no reason why two quick fouls or anything happens. You go down through Kuminga, who will have some ownership of Payton. Obviously Podzinski, those are the obvious ones, but I just think that Moses Moody gets overlooked, and one of these days he's going to shoot himself into a game. Why not on a 2-game slate?
Sounds good to me. So who are these turkeys in the football that I have to X out? There's a lot of guys here.
This is an incredible small slate. Like an incredible showdown slate game.
There's a lot of guys here. Okay.
And you've got like recent trends with things that you like that people think that it's like you should be off of. They're so wrong. Like, I don't care if it works tonight, but like,
let's get into it. Let's talk about that. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. So like this, you look at the ownership. Okay. I'm just going to go to a couple of quick things. Sorry, let me just grab this. And we've got, where is he owned right now? Keaton Mitchell. So Keaton Mitchell, they like him. They run plays with him. They keep letting him catch the ball in the backfield. Gus Edwards has been the touchdown guy because he's getting 1-yarders, and it's killed Lamar's action the last few weeks. I think Keaton Mitchell is like the best play on the slate. And I think that it's strange that everyone's off of him. Like what I thought was going to happen was that I was going to be making an argument for like, shoot, why am I making this argument for a guy who's going to be 50% owned? I don't think he's going to be like 20% owned in the flex, and I'll play him in the captain. He's a really interesting one to me. They like him. He's young. He's got some burst. Is this right? The ownership I'm seeing? Oh, there it is. Yeah, they got him at 2% in the captain. So some people will take some shots on him. But I like that as like a get different-ish type of play. Love Nelson Aguilar on a short. This is the kind of slate you want to play a guy like this. He's really their fourth receiver now, but they have he had 2 targets and 1 target the week before. He had a pass interference in that game against Seattle. It was 37-3. That was in the end zone. He also had a pass interference. Had a incomplete pass in the end zone against Cleveland. He's 800. He's an interesting super cheapie to me.
What do you think of the tight ends for Cincinnati?
I think you play Hudson. I watched them play in a very competitive game, and they were loaded up on Hudson. You have to get some exposure to sample because of the price. I think if you're playing more than 20 lineups, I guess
I'll piggyback over that. It's even more dramatic than you say. Like they scripted an entire drive for Tanner Hudson.
Absolutely.
I think it was four receptions in one drive for Tanner Hudson.
Yep. And it was the must win drive too, by the way. If you want to even go further with it, that we have to stay in the game. We need to come up with plays for someone other than Chase because they're double teaming him every time, and he was their immediate guy. That makes him the guy. And I think he's actually an interesting captain because it allows you to get everything else. If you play the Burrow, Lamar, and you hope somehow he squeaks his way into 2 touchdowns.
I really like, by the way, the Keaton Mitchell play. He's like expensive, you know, like he's going to, I have him at like less than 20% ownership, which is basically 0% owned. You know what I mean?
Right.
I like that. And I also like to take my shots at some of these Raven receivers as well. Like Rashad Bateman, maybe.
He's been to defend that point. He's been getting a few more looks. It's been weird because their game flows have been very strange. They've been up by a bunch in every game, including the game.
Right.
So he hasn't gotten the work he looks. But like when they needed a first down, he was targeted 3 times for a first down in the first half of the game. They were up by 14 points at the time. So I just wanted to jump in and support the Bateman thing.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And I also don't mind. Okay, so I like the Mitchell play. I also don't mind a little Justice Hill. Also, I just think that this like I think you preview the slate really well. I think the slate is just like a freaking random war. You know what I mean? Like, I think the zillions can be left on the table.
The scary thing to me is I felt like and I think he was. I think Justice Hill was actually their RB1 in a lot of the Gus Edwards things. Like he was the one that could run with their normal plays, the Lamar plays, the little leak outs. He just didn't happen to be he's not a touchdown guy. Gus Edwards was. Right. I think Keaton Mitchell might be Justice Hill now.
Dude, you know your Nelson Aguilar. I mean, you could put him in the captain.
It's there is a path for something like that.
He could get 3 for 60 and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. He could get. I mean, he could literally after you could feel like an idiot 5 minutes into the game because they'll go for a bomb with him.
And remember, 3 for 60 and a touchdown at 800 or 1,200 in captain. Then you get to cram all the other stuff.
And by the way, 2 pass interferences, and all of a sudden his numbers would be projecting much differently. The two pass interferences in the end zone. And then I Gus Edwards running. Otherwise, he would have much better numbers. The only thing is with Beckham, Bateman, and how many times they can be running 4 receiver sets. So if you're going to play Aguilar and the captain, I would suggest your lineup be very heavy, like a 4-2 on Cincinnati's side.
That makes a lot of sense
with Lamar and him. So, and for what it's worth, I did post my bets for tonight. I'll just say the football ones. I love for some reason there was a couple sites that had the Bengals plus 4.5. I just thought that was a ridiculous number, and I like the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I think they're the best team in football. But for a Thursday night game between 2 really, really good teams coming off really disappointing losses, and the Ravens are in much better shape. I like the Bengals. I like the Bengals plus 180 or whatever. I think it was 188. I got them. I think they're 168 now. And I like the under in the game, but I'm playing it as if I like the over a little more than I am the under because I'm not playing the defenses. I am playing the kickers. I do like both kickers.
Why wouldn't you play the defenses? They just are the optimal every freaking showdown.
It's just the quarterback. We don't have Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson.
That's true. That is true.
Joe Burrow used to hold the ball for a while. Now he gets rid of it faster than anybody. And Lamar Jackson, okay, yeah, you get probably 2 sacks a game from that, but.
Right.
That's pretty like maybe occasionally you get 1 turnover from him. He's not like a high turnover guy. He's had some mistakes, but mostly not so much. Mostly it's actually the receiver's fault. And this all is, another one that I know he's the popular captains that I like. Actually, he's not even popular. I think Zay Flowers is a great option for captain. I think Mark Andrews is the most obvious play on the slate. And right now I have him in every single lineup. And I'm
really
confused. Other than the fact that this guy's a diabetic, I mean, that's really like honestly that since that started showing up all over Twitter.
What's happening? What is this?
He's diabetic, so he has to go check his sugar levels and do a shot every time offense comes off the field. So it got caught on camera, and people were asking about, like, joking about steroids. Like, no, he's diabetic. And then since the word came out that he's diabetic, like, no one wants to play him as much.
That's one of the more ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life.
It's ridiculous, except for then people all jump to the same thing, which is the basketball player, which, again, it's much harder in basketball to be a diabetic than it is to be a
Who's a diabetic in basketball?
The Adam Morrison, when he was drafted, it was how can you take this high pick on Adam Morrison, because he literally, has like passed out on the court during games before, anyway. But all this to say that Andrews, like, the worst team in football against the tight end by far is Cincinnati. And that's all of football. Mark Andrews should be your main play on a big slate in this matchup, especially on a Thursday night game where you're going to be a lot of checkdowns, a lot of underneath stuff, less home run hitting usually, not always, but usually. I think Mark Andrews is the best captain if I just ignored. And by the way, actually considering the ownership, because I don't want to play Chase as captain because that's 20%. I don't want to play Lamar, even though that's the obvious right decision. If you're playing cash, I think you play Lamar. And I don't want to play Burrow because I'll play the receivers. If the quarterback's going to get me that many points, is it really going to be that many different receivers when you're already missing a tight end and 2 receivers? I think that you're probably going to just take the receivers side on that one. So I would just rather the receivers. The Lamar one is the one that's going to probably kill me, and he'll probably be the optimal captain. He will be in every one of my lineups, but he will not be a captain in any of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. My big overweights are, I guess it's 25% Nelson Aguilar. It's got to be overweight, right? I guess.
Yeah, that's overweight. And then throwing him into like 3% captains or 1% captain or something is probably.
And that's Justice Hill. I mean, not captains. I just mean in general. Justice Hill is my whatever.
Justice Hill play is really interesting because the perception is that basically, like, it's not his thing anymore. So are people even really going to play him in the flex? I mean, he's 2,800. Like, literally a week ago, if this game played one Thursday ago, Justice Hill would have been 70% owned at 2,800.
Yeah.
So just worth considering. Speaking to your point, I think it's an interesting play.
Boy, imagine having this. I have some lineups with both Hudson and Sample together. That's kind of asking for trouble, but
yes and no. They did play double tight ends a little bit last week, and as much as everybody loved it, Trenton Irwin, he smashed, he did all this. Trenton Irwin had 1 catch early in the game for a 40-yard touchdown, and I believe had 1 catch the rest of the game. In a game where they needed to throw the ball like crazy. So let's not get overly. Look, I'm playing some Trenton Irwin, don't get me wrong, but this is maybe the double tight end thing is a good way to get different. But actually, Irwin even seems low. It's kind of weird. The ownership seems more spread out than it should be, but I guess it's because there's enough good players. Okay,
so this is going to be my lineup that I will just throw out there to you guys. So again, I'm playing a bunch, but this one I'll ask everybody individually. I presume everybody agrees that Mark Andrews is a pretty good play.
Yeah.
Okay. I presume everybody presumes that Lamar Jackson is probably a pretty good play.
Yeah.
Tanner Hudson is kind of like, whatever. He's probably a pretty good play. The kickers are okay. So I have the Ravens. Use them. McPherson, he's like reasonable. And Odell Beckham, like all those guys together, leaving 9,600 on the table. All it does is fade Chase and Burrow. I mean, what could go wrong? Chase, Burrow, and Mixon, all of them. Yeah. So it's like the Ravens knock them all out of the game. That's that variation.
Yeah.
My MME set is pretty ruthless. But I'll tell you this. That nobody's duping any of this shit or this stuff, whatever. That I'm telling you for sure. But in my big buy-ins, just so you guys know, I am leaving like 0 money on the table. but I am playing Aguilar in my big buy-in right now.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I like that. I like all of it. I'm going to throw out that both Patrick Ricard and Travion Williams are going to project well, and no one's going to play them. I mean, they're projecting well, which means they're projected to score like 2 fantasy points or one.
Yeah, I had both of those guys. I X'd those guys out at the end.
I get it. I think that I do think there's like the one that I would consider would be Travion. I don't think I could mess with the Ricard thing.
Yeah.
You're hoping for one weird touchdown thing, and that's only 6.2 points or whatever. Whereas Travion could actually catch a pass and
break something.
It's possible,
Right.
It's just not going to happen with Patrick Ricard. Maybe. I mean, you never know. These guys, I've seen some weird plays. I don't know anymore.
What? Just a couple of, like I said, announcement. I didn't forget to put up the MMA DFS thing because I was lazy. There was literally 2 fighters that they just didn't even have salaries on yet, when they usually do at this point. So I will get both the DFS and the betting stuff out tomorrow at some point. And I would also like to say, hold on a minute. That's not that great. That's pretty much all I had. I guess I'm going to get out of here, right? Well, I will. So the MMA stuff will be up tomorrow. Listen, I encourage you guys to check out the interview I did. I didn't piss off the entire industry, but just like a decent amount of it, I guess. We'll see if there's any backlash from it. But quite honestly, I believed everything that I said. And you know what? Like if people want to prove me wrong and do this kind of stuff that we do, then I'll take it back.
I love it. No, I love it, Sheets.
Listen, really, like if other people want to get up there and actually build lineups on screen and like post, like you do, post your exposures, like, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And there's one thing I didn't think of coming back to what's his name against. Listen, good for them. They pushed back at me like a bunch of stuff, and both those guys have a lot of experience in the industry, in the business, especially and obviously Brick's super duper sharp in this whole thing. And I was mentioning, I don't understand why people don't want to, put their stuff in there. People don't, unless they just don't want people to know who they're playing. He's like, well, yeah. I mean, if you're a winning player, why would you want people to know what you're playing? What I should have said back is, okay, so then don't put out freaking plays if you're not going to play them. Right. You know what I mean? Like, don't tell people that I like this and then not be able to stand behind your freaking own opinions.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes there's an issue even with I tell everybody in our Discord, everybody who's a premium member of our site, like, look, my core is when we're live on air and then we're just editing lineups.
Right.
I can't re-edit my core as a thing, but I'll tell you what my core is, and I'll show you my actual current exposures and builds, and you know what I mean. You can tell what my core is from that.
I'm gonna tell you what's going to happen. It's the same thing. Listen, this is the same thing that happened in poker trading. I was doing stuff, and people were like, "Why are you giving this stuff away? Whatever it is." I'm like, "Don't worry about that. Okay, you'll get better by just doing it yourself, and you'll get better, or whatever it is." And eventually, I'm telling you, there are going to be other people that do it. There'll be other sites that do it. People are going to do this, and I'll be happy about it. If you want to know the truth, that is what I would want as a user, is to have people actually be transparent with what they're doing and showing people actually how to play. So I'm going to stand behind all my comments. And listen, I was very also honest about the respect I had for a lot of the people I called out in the podcast as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of that. So if anybody
it was great stuff. I didn't agree with what you said about the Stake King stuff. I just want to clarify for anybody who is watching. Like, I don't sell at a higher percentage than you. The only things I ever do are $100 single entries.
Oh, is that true? I didn't even know that.
I actually sell it lower than you. Most of my sales are like 1.1, 1.15.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
yeah.
I can change it then. Okay. I originally, when I started, I made it at 1.2 because you were doing stuff at 1.3. I didn't want to be like that. You know what I mean?
No, early on when partly also I was on a real tear, and in basketball, I've actually done the numbers, and with basketball especially, I could be selling a lot higher and actually it'd be logical. But I mean, like, sort of like when.
Oh, well, that's it. I literally didn't know. So yeah, I'm gonna go to like 1.1 then. I like to.
No. I'm just saying, like, for certain things I do. I mean, for the higher buy-ins I do. Usually I'm still at 1.2 as an average, but I sell so many things at 1.1 and 1.5, 1.15. My actual average is like definitely below 1.2. But for things that you do have a big edge in, if I want more action of myself, or if say, hey, look, if you guys can take it or leave it, you know what I mean? It's very straightforward. I like.
Well, that was the thing. I used to, when I listen, I try to be transparent about it. I put like on the. I mean, I don't talk about each individual thing, but like when I put my poker thing up there, I'm like, listen, just so you guys know, I haven't played in like years. You know what I mean? I'm probably hopeless, but hey, if you want it, you got it. And you know what? Everybody cash.
No, exactly, bro. This is. I mean, that's the thing, though. But look, you're offering it. It's the same thing. Everybody has the right not to take it or whatever. There's no there. I didn't exactly understand the conflict of interest argument they were trying to make about it, because
it was sort of interesting. You know what I mean? I think what they were saying is that on the one hand you want to be transparent about everything you're doing, and yet you're not 100% transparent about what your markup is relative to what your odds of winning are. I think that was
and that's a very difficult thing in a different conversation.
Right? No, I know. But the thing is, I never really thought about the combining of the two sites in my head. You know what I mean? Like what I do on StakeKings is like kind of like a separate thing. I never even considered how that was really part of the way I thought about the DFS part. I really never thought of that. But again, I just want to try it out to see if I can make it so it's like cooler for people to stake, and I'm failing at that right now. If you want to
know. No. Well, overall though, you have.
I don't mean the staking part. I mean I'm making people money, but I just mean like being able to make it a little bit more user friendly.
Yeah, and that's something that we all have to work on and try to figure out as we go, and we're doing it. You know, we're trying things out, but we just haven't figured out the way to do it.
Yeah.
But I did like a lot of your points. I did want to say that what Brian was saying. At least he's done that, and you do have to pay a percentage. So it's not like you could just charge it flat and then you're just charging a flat thing. That's not the way that it works. It's just not the way it is. It gets taken from both sides. And it is an entertainment product, but at the same time, it is also, in my opinion, there are guys who have their plus losses. I've seen the StakeKings numbers. There are guys who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on this stuff. Like
really?
Yeah. And they're betting mostly on poker, but a lot on some of it, like had a hot DFS thing at the end of poker, and people were thanking me in their thing because they won the player of the year and the most profit or whatever. There is some. I don't want to eliminate that there is some value in that. There is, look.
Dude, you want to know what I did last week? This was actually kind of cool. I didn't even know I could do this. So there's one guy that reached out to me on staking and said, "Listen, everything's sold out in like 2 seconds. Can you put more up there?" And I said I could do even better. So what I did, and you could do this. You could do this. Is I put up another, and you probably know this already. I put up another like stake, but with like a password. And I only gave it to this one guy.
Well, yeah, I've never done it before, but that's a cool way to do it.
Yeah. If I wanted to just open up another like 2% or whatever the hell the guy wanted, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, we'll continue to work on that piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
But okay, so MMA is coming tomorrow and Friday, and then there's NFL Sunday, obviously, and then did you do the position thing with Rody yet or no?
No, Rody's hard. He's in a tough situation to get a hold of him right now, so we're gonna have to figure that one out when we're gonna be able to.
Okay. And then you guys can root for me also. So I don't know if anybody's been watching this stuff, but I've been putting videos up every week of that circa millions pull them in the against the spread thing, where again all you have to do is honestly just figure out who's gonna be lower owned, and I'm like really the only person that plays that way, so that's good news. There's a season long thing which I'm like dead in, but every quarter they like kind of reset like a 5-game stretch where whatever. And last week I put all low owned teams and I went 5-0 to start off the quarter. So I'm live for the next like 4 weeks. So I'm going to do a video like a little later on which teams I'm probably going to go for next week. And I've literally no opinion against the spread. I'm just trying to figure out who people are not playing. I'm already honest. Nobody wants to take these bad teams. Like no one wants to take the Cardinals. Nobody wants to take the Giants. And it's not that these things are like straight up. It's even against the spread. Like these teams are like 1/10 the zone is like the favorites, and it just doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to continue doing that and hope that the against the spread gods like continue to reward me. So
absolutely, awesome.
You watch for that video. Watch for again all kinds of stuff, and maybe we'll go live later when Bobby is about to chop the showdown slate or something.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see if there's any chance of that actually happening. I mean, but it's
All
weird.
right,
You know,
man.
I always feel bad about my showdown lineups until they, you know what, they hit sometimes.
Yeah. And thanks for Clay. Clay's showing up there. Clay was showing up as a big supporter in the chat. And you know, it was good for us, by the way. As I mentioned, like 25, like 30 people like followed me on Twitter after that. Like all like guys like that didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? That that you probably know from DFS. You know. So it's good. Like the more people that listen, everybody knows who you are, but the more people that know me is obviously better. So we're getting some whatever.
No, I love it, man.
Wait, what is it saying? So what's his name mentioned doing it off of them because of the fees? Have you all thought of doing it? Yes, as a matter of fact. So he's asking if there's anything that we could do specifically for DFS for true DFS people as far as the special like State King stuff. We have that already, don't we?
Yes, we absolutely do. And Rhodey's been utilizing it more than I have, but absolutely it's being 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
It's being done.
Okay. And yeah, Temming, I know I did piss off a lot of the viewers, but you know, whatever. I can't win them all. I mean, you can't please everybody, but that is what it is. All right, man. I'm gonna run.
All right, buddy. Take it easy. Good luck to everyone tonight. I'll be in Discord if anybody